In the tens, representation on a number line and decimals placed at the table, and reading and writing of a decimals and fractions as decimal and vice versa. Okay, is what you mean by the decimal is a fraction having the denominator 10, 100, 1000, or call it as decimal fractions, right? Then where we are using these decimals, so when we are telling the amount, so when we are saying the amount, we are using the decimals. For example, 1 rupee 75 paisa we say as 1.75 rupees, and the height, what about your height, you may say that 5.6, 5.4, like that. And what about your weight, so you can also say that 60.5, 61.5, like that, right? So in many ways, so in our everyday life we are using the decimals, right? So let's see here the first concept, that is tens. Okay, in the previous class we have learned about the fractions, right? Yes, you may see here I have written some of the boxes. Let's start here. Can you write these figures as a fractional form? Yes, see here, here in the total number of boxes are here 10. So in the 10 boxes, one of the box is shaded, right? One of the box is shaded. Then how can you represent this figure in the fractional form? Yes, we can represent like this. So the shaded part we have to write in the numerator, and the total number of parts we have to write in the denominator, right? Yes, see the second figure. So here also total number of boxes are 10. In the 3 boxes are waste, right? Yes, how can you write this figure as a fraction? 3 by 10, right? And the third figure, so total number of parts are 10. So in the 10 parts, 5 parts are checks, right? Yes, how can you write this figure in a fractional form? We can write it as 5 by 10. Okay, so these fractions having the denominator tens, so these fractions are decimal fractions. Yes, decimal fractions means the fractions having your denominator 10, 100, 1000 are all decimal fractions, right? Yes, how can you write this 1 by 10 as a decimal number? Yes, you can write here 0.1. 0.1, or we can also say the 0 point, we can say it as decimal point. Okay, so 0 decimal 1. Okay, then similarly write the second fraction as decimal form. So 3 by 10. So 3 by 10 we can write it as decimal form 0.3. Okay, so we have to keep the decimal point always in the middle of the numbers. Okay, and it is in between the center. Okay, then next 5 by 10. So 5 by 10 is a fractional decimal, and we can write it as a decimal form 0.5. Okay, is it clear? Yes. Then let's see the representation on a number line. Okay, then let's see here how can you represent the decimal numbers on a number line. In the previous class we have learned how to represent the fractional numbers on a number line, right? Yes, we know that from the 0 to 1, the length between 0 and 1 is divided into 10 equal parts, right? So the length between 0 and 1 is divided into 10 equal parts. So we can say that each part represents 1 by 10. So here this part represents 1 by 10. It means the first part represents 0.1. Okay, so each part is 0.1, 0.2, 0.3, 0.4, 0.5, 0.6, 0.7, 0.8, 0.9 and 10 by 10, that is 1. Okay, yes, can you represent the 2.4 on a number line? So 2.4, here there is a whole number 2, after that 0.4. So 0.4 means after that 4 by 10s, right? So here there is a 2, after we have to count 4 unit place. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yes, it is the 2.4. 1.6 is greater than the 1.5. Right? See here 1.5 is here. After that 1.6. Right? So here there is a 1.6. Is it clear? Yes. Then let's see the place value table and how to read and write the decimal numbers. Okay. So read one of the example here. 40 plus 2 plus 5 by 10. Okay. 40 plus 2 plus 5 by 10. Yes. How can you write these numbers as decimal form? Yes, we can write here. So 40 plus 2, 42, it is a whole number. Then write it here, 42, and 5 by 10. So 5 by 10, how can we write here? That is 0.5, 0.5 or 0.5. So here keep the point and write the 5. Okay, as you can observe here in the 42.5. So in the 42.5, so we can say that 42 is a whole part. So 42 is a whole part and it is a decimal. And after the decimal point, the number is there. So 5. So it is the decimal number. Okay, it is the decimal number or it is decimal part. Whole part, decimal point and decimal part. Okay. Yes. Then let's see here 42.5. Okay. So after the decimal point, we have to read the numbers as single. Okay. For example, if it is a 42.56. So we can't read 42.56. It is not a correct. So we have to say it as 42.56. Okay. So after the decimal point, we have to read it as a single digit. Okay. Then let's take the other example. Yes, sir. 30 plus 3 plus 9 by 10. Yes, sir. How can you write this number as a decimal form? Yes. So first add the whole numbers. Okay. So 30 plus 3 is equals to 33 and 9 by 10. So 9 by 10 is a decimal fraction. So we have to write in a decimal point. So keep the point and write the 9. Okay. So we can read it as 33.9. Okay. Yes. Then take another example. 50 plus 9 plus 3 by 10. Okay. So here first add the whole numbers. 50 plus 9 which is equals to 59. Right? Yes. 59 and 3 by 10 is a fractional number. So keep the point and write the 3. Okay. Yes. We have to place 3. So 59.3. So in this decimal number, 3 is in the tens place and 9 is in the ones place, 5 is in the tens place. Okay, so by the place division we can easily read the decimal numbers. So we can read it as 42.5 and 3 tens means 33.9 and 5 tens 59.3. Okay, is it clear? Yes. Then let's go to the next one, fractional as decimal and vice versa. Okay, then let's see how to write the fractions as decimals and decimals as fractions. Okay, so first I have taken here 3 examples. Okay, first example is 8 by 10. How can we write this fraction as decimal form? Yes. So how can we write this? So 8 tenths. So we can read it as 8 tenths. Right? Yes. How can we read the fraction? It is a decimal fraction. We can read it as 8 tenths. So we have to write the 8 in the tens place. Right? So how can we write? That is 0.8. So decimal point of the first place is decimal point to the right is the first place, that is tens place. So we have to write it as 0.8. So okay, yes. And the second question is 11 by 5. So in the previous class we have learned how to write the fraction as the denominator 5, 10, 15 like that, right? So convert this denominator to the tens. Okay, yes sir. How can we convert? By multiplying both the numerator and denominator. So we can write it as the denominator tens. Okay, yes sir. Multiply, which is equals to, we need the denominator 10, right? Yes. So how much are 10? 5 to the 10. Yes. Multiply both the numerator and the denominator by 2. Yes. 11 to the 22. Okay. Yes. How can we write this number in the decimal form? Yes, we can display it as 20 plus 2 divided by 10. Okay. Now we can write it as 20 by 10 plus 2 by 10. Right? Yes. So 20 by 10. So we can simplify this one. So 10 1 ja, 10 2 ja. Right? So we can write it as 2. Okay? Then 2 by tens are 2 tenths. So how can we write it as? So we can write it as 0.2. Okay? Yes. Then similarly 1 by 2. So 1 by 2 is a fraction. So we can write it as a decimal form. Yes. How can we write it as decimal form? First we have to convert the denominator as 10. Okay? Yes. By multiplying the same number, the numerator and the denominator, so we can convert it as a decimal form. Okay? Yes, sir. 2. We need the denominator 10. 2 how much are 10? 2 5s are 10. Yes, multiply 5 by the multiply 5 to the numerator and the denominator. So 5 ones are 5. Okay? Yes, sir. 5 tenths. So 5 tenths, how can we write it as the decimal form? So we know that 5 tenths, that is 0.5. Okay? Is it clear? Yes. Then let's write the decimals as fractions. So the first example is 1.9. So how can we split it this number? So here 1 is in the ones place. So the number to the left of a decimal point is the ones place. So 1 is in the ones place, then write it as 1 and 0.9. So 0.9, point after to the right of a number is a tens place and it is a decimal part. Right? Yes. How can we write this number? So plus, then write 9 as a 9 by 10. 9 by 10. Okay. So now I will write it as 1 10 by 10. Okay. Which is equals to, I will write 1 as 10 by 10 plus 9 by 10. Okay. So is we can write it as 10 is the LCM, 10 plus 9 is 90. Okay. So it is in the fractional form. So like this we have to convert decimals as a fractions. Okay. Then similarly we have to do the second one, third one. Okay. Let's do here 4.2. So 4.2, 4 is the whole part and 2 is in the decimal part. So how can we write this whole part? So write it as 4 and keep the plus. So point after in the tens place there is a 2, means it is 2 tens, right? So plus 2 by tens. Okay. So how can we write this 4? Yes, we can write it as 40 by 10 plus 2 by 10. Okay, we know that. So if we cancel 40 and 10, we will get the number 4, right? So 40 by 10 plus 2 by 10. So these two are like fractions. We have to add this. Let's write the denominator as it is 10 and add the numerator. 40 plus 2 is 42. So now 4.2 is written as the fractional form 42 by 10. Okay. Then third one, last example 6.4. Okay. Yes. How can we write this 6.4 as a fractional form? We know that 6 is the whole part and 4 is the fractional part. Right. So first write the whole part 6 plus, so 4 is in the tens place. We can write it as 4 by tens or 4 tens. Okay. Yes, now can we write it as the 60 by 10. Okay. It is equals to 60 by 10. So if we simplify the 60 and 10, we will get the answer 6. Right? Yes, then plus 4 by 10. Okay. So now it is easy to add the like fractions 60 by 10 plus 4 by 10. Write the denominator 10 as it is and add the numerator 60 plus 4, 64. Okay. Yes. Like this we have to convert the decimals as fractions and fractions as decimals. So up to here we have learned about the decimals, tens, representation of decimal number tens on a number line and place value table, and how to read the decimal numbers as the tens place and write the numbers on tens place. Okay. Is it clear? In the next class we are going to solve the exercise 8.1.